All right, man. Hey, everybody. How's it going? It's your boy, the job father, Justin Thomas. That means I get you the offer you cannot refuse. And today I'm here without my co founder, Netta. She's down in Texas right now at a conference doing some real live in person networking. But this is a offshoot of the career files. And today we're going to focus on margins, from margins to mainstreams, building inclusive career ecosystems for Black and Brown professionals. So, as you see here, I have a co host today, a great friend of mine from college. We haven't spoken in a while, but I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, about your brand, your company, and anything else
Sure.
you would like to know.
Cool. Well, Justin, I appreciate you having me here today. Super excited to talk to you. Super excited to talk to your audience. My name is Senzwa Ntshepe. What do I do? I call myself an architect of Black futures. Essentially, I run an organization called The Connect. And The Connect is a citywide ecosystem builder for Black and Brown professionals. What does that look like, right? So I'm currently in Philadelphia. I'm from Philadelphia, but spent some time in DC with Justin as well. And what I saw when I moved back to Philadelphia was that the quality of the professional environment was different, right? And I was like, what's going on? Like, why is there such a disparity between the quality of life from folks here, quality of life for folks in DC and New York, these other places? So I did a lot of research, right? And a lot of that has to do with job density, but really focusing on prioritization of Black and Brown professional life, right? Okay. And what does that look like? So I created an organization called The Connect. And our job is to work with cities to retain, attract, and develop Black and Brown professionals within their specific city. So we make Black thriving in your city a city priority, right?
Okay.
So we have multiple chapters. We're in Philadelphia, we're in DC, and then we're launching a chapter in Memphis in partnership with the mayor's office and the Office of Economic Development as a key strategy for their economic development plan, right? Okay. So what do we do? What does that look like operationally? Mm-hmm. We focus on convening folks, pipelining people to resources and opportunities, upskilling, and then advocating, right? So it's a multi-layered process in order to increase the quality of the environment, but then also give folks a Black and Brown professional home wherever they are, right? You got your Atlantas, you got your DCs, you got your Houstons, you got all these other places, but what happens to them cities where there are Black folk there, but they're really not being poured into as much as those other more abundant cities, wealth abundant cities. Gotcha. So we really want to focus on those to really cultivate that environment and give people a home, whether there be transplants, whether there be folks who've lived there and grown up there their entire lives, but also just make sure that the city knows that the future of the quality of your environment, the future of your Black and Brown leadership rests on how you nurture the talent that you have already, right? And then how you make your city an attractive city, right? What does job opportunities look like? What does upskilling look like? What do all these other things look like? Job opportunities, upskilling, pipelining to actual professional opportunities. What do those things look like to make sure that folks know that, hey, this is a city where you can actually thrive in, right? So the narrative doesn't always just have to be Atlanta, or the narrative doesn't always have to be DC, but the narrative can be Philly, or the narrative can be Baltimore, where you have these local politicians who really care about what the cities look like, but they just need that extra little push. And that's what we do. We come in, we work with cities, we work with local organizations, both corporate and community organizations, to really figure out, okay, what are those key pain points? And then how can we plug and play with the talent and resources that are already there in order to continue to push that agenda forward?
Great, man. Thank you for that great synopsis. You answered. I had questions because I was so excited, but you answered the majority of them. So I went ahead and pulled up your website here. I hope you don't mind. It is an amazing website. I think everybody should go join it. Scrolling across the bottom of the screen here, theconnect.pro. All right. Look, your journey to success, right? So we all heard his overview. According to his site, and make sure I'm right, join the network, attend events. While you're attending those events, you're building connections and then advance and lead, right? So my question, Senzwa, is once we get past the first three, is it is it something that we are ourselves have to take the advance and lead, or are there platforms or venues of opportunity that your brand provides?
Yep. And see, and that's why we're there, right? So not only are we there to have a locus of communion and convening, but then we kind of get tapped into the local resources in order to facilitate that resource sharing, that knowledge sharing, and bridging those knowledge gaps to folks, right? So I got people who hit me up all the time. Hey, Senzwa, I saw that a councilman was at your last event, or a state rep was at your last event, or the city commissioner was at your last event. I really want to connect with them because my little brother needs a mentorship opportunity, or I'm really interested in this policy that they're pushing, et cetera. So we facilitate those little gaps in connection for folks to take ownership of the progress in their city, right? Um, so we do that a lot through personal introductions. We're actually building right now. We're going to use AI to build a mentorship platform internally for our members. We're also building a school community right now for upskilling and development. But we're that extra little engine to really make sure that the folks get the resources that they need. So if the Department of Commerce says, hey, we have this program, but we need to really get it in front of Black and brown businesses, they call us and they say, okay, cool, we can make a campaign for you to get you in front of the folks that you're actually trying to fund, right? Or uh, a local VC firm that says, hey, I'm really trying to find those specific Black and brown businesses to put that money into. They say, okay, cool, we can make a convening and we can distribute those resources at will. So we're that extra push to again, as the name says, to connect folks to those resources and opportunities. So you have the human capital, but then
Mm-hmm.
you have the resource capital, and then you also have what we call aspirational capital, right? So we connect folks to what does the next level of your job looks like? What does the next level of your skill building and skill attainment look like, right? So connecting for folks to all those different sources of capital really allow us to continue to push forth our mission and justify it on the back end when we go to the city and say, hey, these are all the things that we're doing for your constituents.
Mm-hmm.
Now we need you to buy it.
Man, that's awesome, man. And I pulled up your success stories here. I love what you have. You have one. Hey, the first one says the Connect helped me transition from nonprofit work to tech. The mentorship and networking opportunities were invaluable. Right, double salary within 18 months. Then you have somebody who said through your civic engagement programs, they found a voice in local government. Right, and now they're leading initiatives that directly impact their community's future. And then, so you hit somebody transitioning from something into tech. You have somebody on the political side, and then you have the entrepreneur side, right? It says the entrepreneurship workshops and connections that this person made through the Connect were game changers. They launched their own agency and secured three major clients within the first year. That's listen, people. So basically, the Connect is for anybody, any type, anywhere in your career in almost any industry. And if even if you're starting your own business and an entrepreneur, this is a place you need to be. So thank you for that great introduction. Guys, the website is at the bottom of the screen here. It'll be there for a little bit longer, and I'll also post it in the chat. Make sure you check out his website. That's a lot. He gave you a lot about who he is and qualified why he's able to be here today with me and go through this discussion that we're about to go through. So, part one, the first thing we want to talk about is the invisible wall, right? So, the real barriers Black and brown professionals face, like ageism, tokenism, hiring bias, and AI filters. So, I want to ask you, like, how have you seen this play out in your life, not just UX and DEI research, but in your career totality? Sorry.
Oh yeah, I mean, so previously, before the Connect, I actually worked for a local firm called Diverse Force. So we and I had a few roles, a strategic project manager, but um, Diverse Force's mission, as then they're a partner as now, is really kind of focusing on DEI within the workplace, right? And we want the reason why the organization exists is because there needs to be a level of intentionality to make sure that the the hiring field is level, right? There needs to be a level of intentionality to make sure that the advancement field is level, right? So not only placing folks in roles, but making sure that they have a path to C-suite or a path to senior director or a path to vice president, right? And I mean, what are we talking about? There are multiple barriers and bulwarks everywhere from application to actual hiring, onboarding and training, development, performance reviews, um, 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 not only performance reviews, but actually, and then making it to the next level. All those specific things. There are barriers for Black and brown folks at every one of those levels, right?
Yep.
So it's just like racism was an intentional force, right?
Yeah.
So the force that combats racism has to be even more intentional and collaborative as well, right?
Well,
So
let me pause you there though. How do we push though without segregating ourselves? Because in today's climate, you can't. I'm a career coach, right? And
sure.
I advise my clients, do not put DEI initiatives in your platform or anything unless that's just exactly what you're looking to do. If
Yeah.
it's corporate, take that off because people are biased, right? And that's one of the hurdles I've seen. But my question is, do we push? Are you the radical to push and say, I know it's going to be difficult, but we have to push or we'll get left behind? Or is there a middle ground? Or what's your thoughts on that?
So what I've learned in business is you got to be tactful, right? And unfortunately, DEI has become a negative buzzword. I'm still trying to figure out why.
We know why, but
I mean, we know why, but it's crazy.
Yeah.
But there are other markers that can highlight the experiences of the same population that you can focus on without being overt or ostensible around putting that narrative around DEI, right? So we talk about zip codes, right, where actually people live, right? We understand that zip codes tend to be have influence on race, right? Or racially influenced, right? So if you're saying, hey, I want to hire folks from X, Y, and Z, neighborhood or etc., that can kind of go a little bit underneath the radar. We can talk about incomes and specifically looking at low incomes folks in specific areas, right? That is another marker that's not ostensibly race based, right? So you have to look at other aspects of marginalized existence in which we can highlight and be intentional about without being ostensibly discussing race, since it's now such a taboo concept. For us at the Connect, I mean, we put Black and brown on the thing because this is what we're here for.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have what are we talking about? But at the same time, we've also been able to transition into AI. Everybody loves talking about AI right now, right? So depending on who I'm talking to is depending on what aspect of my organization I emphasize, right? So if I'm talking to a local municipal leader who really cares about Black and brown communities, this is what we're talking about. And the AI is powering their goals, their personal goals. If I'm talking to a local corporation that's trying to shy away from DEI, then I talk about how I can upskill using AI your employees, right? I might show a little bit extra love to the Black and brown employees, but the focus is on AI and productivity, right? So you have to be tactful around what kind of conversations you're having with certain people, because understanding what they value and understanding what their fears are, right? I mean, a lot of folks are a lot of things are very unstable right now. So folks are afraid that if they speak out, they're putting themselves and their identity and their livelihoods at risk. Organizations, individuals, etc. Those are real fears. So it's just like, all right, cool. So how do we talk to you based on what you value and what you fear? And then how do we make sure that our message is aligned with your value? That's number one about influence, right?
Okay. Yep. Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah. So
What works for you?
listen, I'm a huge nerd. So I got all these strategies and
All
all
right,
this.
well, let me
Right.
pause right there then,
Go ahead.
because I know you have a lot. So I 100% agree, and I'm going to bring it back to the connect, right? The connect is the safe space where we don't have to watch what we say, watch how we do it, right?
Sure.
But that's the place where we hone in on everything you just said, how to be tactful, how to properly approach these barriers, and how to, number one, recognize it, right? Visualize it, how to see it when you're approaching it and when you're dealing with it, how to properly react to that, you know, I'm in the South, man. You know, my adult professional life is in DC in the Northeastern region, and then I have this last 6 years of my life being down here in the South. And what I forgot about in the South, man, Southern regions, you have polite racism, right?
Mm,
So how to recognize that, how to deal with it, how to know how to combat it without coming across as combative. All
mm,
right. So the connect I see, and I'm just telling all my followers, man, check out the website. All right. The connect.pro. Check it out, because if you're a black or brown person in a city, in a major city, or a city that's underserved for black people, reach out to Senzwa. Talk about how you can start a chapter there. Figure out what is needed. And guess what? If you're a part of that, starting that chapter, your network will grow even that much more, and you'll be that much more important in your city on a
yep.
political level. It's not just about the jobs. You're changing jobs, but you're also changing the political structure. And it is a battle. It's a fight, right? So one thing I noticed, right, which is why you need a diverse team, especially when it comes to hiring, when it comes to HR and recruiting. You don't just need a black person. You don't just need a white person. You need a white person, a black person, an Asian person. You need a diverse team. Why? Because people tend to recruit towards who they know, right? So what I've seen, some barriers I've seen in companies that I'm not saying that they were racist, but hey, they made racist comments or solutions without knowing it, right? So for
Sure.
instance, if I had candidate A and candidate B, candidate A was white, candidate B was black. Candidate A might show up 5 or 10 minutes late and apologize, and it's all good. Candidate B may be 3 minutes late and apologize, and no, I want to disqualify them because they seem like they're just always going to be late, right? So we have to be perfect. Though that's the subtle hurdle that a lot of people don't know about, right? Even if you're going into a business owned by black and brown people, you still have to be perfect in your role. So that's one barrier I wanted to call out. I know I cut you off. My apologies. Keep going if you remember.
I mean, you're absolutely right, right? Because it's, as marginalized folks, as black and brown folks, our behavior is a representative of our entire race.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, we don't have the privilege of individualizing our behavior, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and other, and other folks, that's an individual thing, right? So it's like we got to be twice as better, we got to be twice as good, we got to be all the things that our mom and our grandmom used to say, but it's a very real thing, and especially now, right? When our competence is continuously under attack, right? It don't matter that what schools that we went to. We went to some of the best schools in the country, right? We're here for a reason, but that it doesn't matter in a sense, right? It's just like how do you continuously show up, and what does that mean for how you're perceived in that way? So absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
So, those are just a few, right? And for job seekers, I always like to talk about job seekers and how we can overcome these things. For instance, I have a client, I'll change the name up, but his name is John Paul Muhammad Thomas. Okay. He changed his name from John Paul. He just puts JP Thomas, take away the Muhammad, right? He did an A/B testing, meaning he tried his full name applying, and he tried the JP Thomas, right? And the JP Thomas got way more responses, right? There's also a young lady on LinkedIn, and I'm forgetting her name. And when I find it, I will post it to the chat. But she did this whole series that blew up and got picked up by national news and newspapers and magazines, where it's called She Corporate Catfish. She made a white profile, but she used all her resume and everything, but made a white profile, white name, and applied to the same jobs. And she delivered the results and the receipts, and you will be surprised. So if you can look it up, look up Corporate Catfish on LinkedIn. All right, let's go back. Let's go down to part two. How many diverse hiring initiatives? No, sorry. Why many diverse hiring initiatives fail? I guess let's start with the disconnect between C-suite goals and community impact. You want to start there?
Sure.
All right, go ahead.
So one of the things that I've seen is that organizations, very few organizations fully integrate diversity initiatives into the fabric of their organization, right? So these initiatives tend to be one-offs or something they can write off or part of their corporate social responsibility, um, or something that they feel good like they're giving out some sort of charity, right? Not understanding that diverse teams produce better outcomes that we all know, right? And it's not necessarily just racial diversity, but really the core of it is diversity of thought, right? Now, diversity of thought comes from different life experiences, which can show up in different racial and cultural demographics. That's what we measure, right? But understanding that diverse teams produce better outcomes. If you're a company, you want better outcomes because you want more money. So it's just like, which influences your bottom line. So of course you would think that. But the problem is companies will be like, all right, cool, we'll put all this money into DEI hiring initiatives. And then they don't see an ROI in 4 months. And they're like, oh, we just wasted that money. No, it's not how that works, right?
I agree. And
DEI, essentially, DEI is a change management system, right? Change management takes time, it takes years, right? If you're not really 10 toes down invested in change management, then you're going to be trying to measure this ROI and then be like, oh, nothing really changed. We just wasted all of this. And now we got all these black people and, all this. And I don't know what to do, right? Exactly. So it's just like understanding that the nature of change management takes time, understanding that you need to have longitudinal methods of measurement. When you're looking at these specific things, what are people reporting? How are systems being more effective, et cetera? So, kind of going down, not only internally do these organizations not do a great job at understanding and measuring their progress and understanding what progress looks like, but then again, they're not tapping into the community, right? So, and that's kind of where we come in, right? Because a lot of these corporations, they want community dollars because they understand a black dollar is powerful, but they don't have a community brand, right? We don't trust y'all. So it's like, if we don't trust y'all, we're not gonna buy from y'all. Like, so it's like, how do you integrate your mission, your vision, your what you intend to do into the well-being and the fabric and the everyday lives of the people you're trying to actually attract, right? If it's not employee attraction for employment, but it's attraction for consumers, right? As a consumer. So that's kind of how we come in, where an organization will come to us and be like, hey, we want to put on this initiative. We think it'd be really good for your organization and your community. And then we'll ask them, we'll put them through the ringer. Like, all right, cool. What does this look like? How are you actually benefiting the community? What has been your CSR goals lately? Like, have you put in some money? And like, it's not like, what have you done? Like, have you given communities money? Like, that's the question. Like that's the impact. Like money or some sort of upskilling and training. What is your hiring makeup? All these other things. If those are the things that you actually want to do, we can be your community arm. But I'm also not a put my community trust at risk for an organization that says they want to do X, Y, and Z, and then they come in and they do some weird stuff. And then it's just like, all right, like now you making us look bad and making us look like we pimping out our community for $1. And we don't do that. Like, we don't, we bring in trusted organizations to say, hey, we have your community at the top of mind and their best interest at heart. And we say, hey, this is what this is really what we're interested and willing to do. Let's work with you on. We think it would be a great benefit to the community. So yeah, so that's how we work with partner organizations, both in the corporate and the municipal level, right? Because sometimes you gotta check the municipals and be like, all right, cool. Like, what do we like for real? Like, what are we doing? So, yeah.
Man, you are amazing, bro. And I didn't do too much of a deep dive. Have you been doing speaking engagements over the years?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. I gotta look up if you can. If you have a YouTube link, go ahead and drop it in the private chat. I'll share it with the group. If not, fine. If you
Okay.
have any links you want to share, just drop it in that private chat.
I gotta
But
find them. Yeah.
so great aspect on that, man. So I do have a question. This is more of an opinion, and if you can definitely decline the answer. Okay. I'll give you my thought. As a recruiter, as an internal recruiter for 15 years, and sitting at the head of that department, right? I had to deal with all executives, all department heads, right? So when diversity first came out, it was a very big thing. Everybody had to do it. It's the cool thing to do, right? The DEI. Um, then you talk about the ROI. I did have some companies and some clients that tried to stick with it 90 days, 180 days, but at the end of the day, after I did my analysis, it wasn't about the diversity. Well, they weren't failing because of diversity. They were failing because they were just hiring anybody. So,
Hmm.
what are your thoughts on diverse versus hiring the best person for the role that you can find, right? And what happens if, unfortunately, whatever area you're in, there's not enough, especially if it requires on site, there's not enough to pull from to have that diversity that's needed. I'm not just talking about black people. I'm talking about black, white, Asian, Hispanic,
Sure.
man, woman, disabled, veterans, right? So what are your thoughts on that? Because as a recruiter, I have to go. I think I have to keep my job. Also, I have to put the business first when I'm an internal recruiter, right? And it's always business,
Of course.
never personal. I need if this hiring manager makes another bad hire that I put in front of him, then my head is on the chopping block. So, what are your thoughts about that? Just as somebody who's not a recruiter, who has owned companies yourself and has been a job seeker yourself.
Sure. Um, the organization's goal is always to hire the best person for the job, right? With DEI, we're not just saying just hire anybody because they're black or hire anybody because they're different. And by different, I mean non-white, right?
Mhm.
We're saying the best person for the job may not necessarily be in the community where you have immediately access. So if you have not done have not made a concerted effort to look in other communities, then that's where the gap is, right? So hiring your nephew because you have an immediate touch point, that's you're also doing yourself a disservice, right? Because the best possible person for the job may be in the Asian community, right? And you just haven't really taken the time to look for it. But historically, folks haven't taken that time to look for it because they automatically assume the best person for the job is going to look like them, right? So we're saying DEI is really an effort to broaden the scope of who you look for and be just as intentional about who you look for in those communities than you do in your own community.
And
That's
agreed.
that's the key,
And
right?
that was a super powerful gem for any HR leaders, any CHROs, any company leaders who are new to kind of owning a business and hiring. It's about what he said. If you rewind the video, if you just got here a little earlier, since I was talking about how it's about the community, where's your company putting the money? You're putting all this money into DEI, but are you going into those communities? Are you just going to Ivy League colleges? Are you just going to PWIs? Or are you going to the HBCUs for their job fairs? Are you sending your campus recruiters to these HBCUs to go talk to the different classes within the majors of the roles that you're looking to hire from, right? Even still, are you going to different grad schools in different communities, right? Are you are you throwing tech events or job fair events in the lower, in communities that may not be directly in your kind of ethnicity or your community directly, right? So that is the key. That is how you bridge the gap. I think that's a great way to kind of end out that session. That is, man, that was a great. I couldn't have said it better myself. Since why not? That's why you're here, man. Did you have anything to add before I go to the next part?
Nah, let's keep moving.
All right. So now here's what I really want to hear from you, man. This next topic is your career is a startup, empowering job seekers to treat their
Mm,
careers like a business. So talk to me about storytelling, personal branding, and leveraging community for traction.
sure. Um, can I start with? I'm going to start with why. I got some stats for you
Okay, go
if you're
ahead.
down to hear, because I want to start with why you need to treat your job search like this. And I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about what's going on with AI right now and how black jobs are at risk, right? So just in general, Um, they say in the U.S., activities accounting for up to 30% of all hours worked could be automated by 2030. This trend is expected to necessitate an additional 12 million occupational transitions in the U.S. alone by 2030, which globally means AI can replace the equivalent of 30 million full-time jobs. Now let's talk about how this affects Black people. 24% of all Black workers are employed within occupations greater than 75. Employed within occupations with a greater than 75% potential for automation. Right, that's from McKinsey.
Mm-hmm.
So in absolute terms, 4.5 million jobs held by African Americans are at high risk to displacement due to AI-driven automation. Right.
Okay.
So understanding all this, right, we understand that the landscape of your job search is changing, right,
Yeah.
significantly. Um, Historically, the roles in which Black and brown folks were able to enter as gateway roles are being automated, right? So, admin jobs, customer service, administrative assistant, executive assistant, a lot of those roles are at risk of being automated.
Okay.
What does that look like? And I say all this to frame that you need to treat your job search like you're a startup, right? Now, what does that look like?
Okay.
So, in a startup, you have different verticals. So, one, you are the product, right? So, what does product development look like if you're the product? Product development looks like you need to be continuously upskilling and understanding what are the most in demand tools and the most in demand frameworks that you need to position yourself as a more valuable product than the products that are already existing, right? And the products that are already existing are your competition, other people that are actually applying for jobs. So that's product development. Two, marketing. You need to use a lot of these tools, and we can talk about very specifics on becoming a thought leader in your specific domain of expertise, right? So your own personal marketing is your own personal mission, what you do well, your vision, your expertise. You need to be able to continuously communicate and tell that story on various platforms all the time, right? Because what happens, what I've realized, listen, I've built a network of over 30,000 folks between here and DC, right? And it's growing every day. Um, a key part of that was storytelling. All right. I did not personally reach out to 30,000 people and be like, yo, come bang with us. Like, we got something cool over here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no.
Yeah, got you.
Like, I said, hey, are you a Black and brown professional that moved to a new city and you don't know nobody? And you're looking for folks for you to vibe with. You're looking for opportunities for growth and expansion. And you're looking for some sort of cultural footprint in your city. Come bang with us, because we are developing a network and a resource machine in order for you to tap in that way.
Got
Right?
you.
That's storytelling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the storytelling has to do with understanding your audience's pain point and how you can solve that.
Got you.
Right?
Got you.
So, how do you do that from your own personal perspective as a job seeker? You know, employers want, in whatever domain, they want this type of expertise and they want X, Y, and Z. How do you communicate that? That's your own personal marketing strategy, right?
Got you.
Then it goes to sales, right? Sometimes you do need to reach out to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to, these LinkedIn DMs and emails, or also look into your own personal network, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the way you do is like, you don't ask someone directly for something. You ask somebody if they know someone that might have what you need, right?
Gotcha.
Because if they're the person that they has what they need, then they'll be like, oh, well, I do. So it doesn't look like you begging, but it gets you what you need. And if not, if they don't have it, they'll put you on to somebody else.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yep.
So sales, product, marketing, Finances, you understand? You got to control your bread if you don't have none, right?
Yep.
Um, and then operations. I'll say the last part. We live in a different world than when we went to school, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely different world. The amount of things that you can do right now, like the gap between idea and execution is
Very
like
small.
nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
You
You
can
don't.
build $1 million business in your mama basement if you wanted to, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, like I even remember when I first got out of when I first got GW, I was like, a couple years later, I was looking up like UX and all this other stuff. I was like, I ain't never heard about that when I was at GW. Like that wasn't even a thing. Like, like
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying? Like, what is user experience? This show is hot. Like, okay, cool. Like I would have definitely majored in that, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I majored in psychology. You know, it transferred well, but the things change so much, and where we are right now is that there are so many tools that if you just take time to really tap in, you can make your operational output 10x, 50x if you really wanted to, right? You can like right now I'm into a lot of NAN automation.
Okay.
So really having things talk to each other and then building agents on there. And one of the things that we're doing at the Connect, we have an AI arm where we do AI education, but then also AI development for businesses. So we help provide infrastructure for businesses. AI infrastructure is really creating agents to automate their workflows, right?
Got you.
Right. If you take your time just to learn some of that stuff, I promise you look at the world completely differently and you can make money, right? But then you can also make yourself so much more efficient. I had one of my homegirls hit me up today. She was just like, I think I'm in love with a robot. I'm like, what are you talking about? She was like, his name is ChatGPT and I blame you. And I was like,
Oh man, that's.
I was like, I was like, listen, whatever you do, that's on you. But you were like, it's like, yo, I didn't understand it can improve my life this much. I'm like,
Yes,
yeah,
it
like
closes that gap from idea to
to
functionality,
execution. It's
execution.
like
Yeah.
nothing. So if you look at your job search through that framework,
Mm-hmm.
product development, marketing, sales, finance, and operations. You
Got
do
you.
that, you a fully functional organization, and boom, you can tap you know when things are lacking, and you can tap in and increase your output. But like that's what's the level of focus and intention that's going to require. It's going to be required in this world. Um, on top of understanding these tools that allow you to do so, right?
Got you.
So that's the framework I would give for that.
Okay. And guys, if you're a follower of me, the Job Father, you've heard me talk about the 4-phase strategy, right? So just tying everything since what I said into my 4 phases of the job search. You have the passive phase. That's where you optimize your LinkedIn and your resume so that you're coming up in recruiter searches on either LinkedIn if they're using LinkedIn Recruiter to source, or Indeed, or whatever other job boards you have your resume on. The whole point of optimizing your resume and profile is to show up in those searches, attract the recruiter to your profile or your resume, and have them reach out to you for an interview. So like you make passive money, passive job search phase, right? That's just the base and foundation. Then you have thought leadership, establishing yourself, your brand as a thought leader, not as a job seeker, but as a professional in what you do, as an actual thought leader. And that's through your branding and your content and everything. A lot of what Senzwa just spoke about. And then the third and fourth phases are virtual and then in-person networking, right? That's how to effectively use your community to close the loop and land the job that you want if you're job seeking, or land the contract that you want if you're an entrepreneur. And when you put all 4 of those things together and couple it with the guidance that Senzwa just gave you, you have a gold mine, people, right? So putting those things together to attack your job search, and even if you have a job, you still have a career, and you always need to be building. You always need to be providing yourself as proving yourself as a thought leader. Always need to be networking both virtually and in person. And guys, don't be that cousin that only reach out when you want something, right? Learn how to properly network. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did that to Senzwa because he was killing it, but I didn't ask for a handout. I asked for his expertise, right? And I got a response. But if you're a job seeker and you're looking to do a coffee and chat, don't just connect with somebody and immediately reach out and have an ask, right? You want to connect with them, virtual networking, tap them on the shoulder politely, go to their profile, go to their activity section, look at their recent posts and comment on their posts, like their post. Don't just be a stalker and comment something random, right? Make sure you make a relevant contact, right? Comment. But you do those things for a couple of days, and your name will be in their feed. Your name will be in their notifications. You'll see that they went to your profile, and then you reach out. And even when you reach out, if you position yourself as a thought leader, you're reaching out to extend a hand and an exchange and connecting, and not as a handout, because time is money, and people not trying to give away everything. And everybody reaches out on LinkedIn, so I'm only responding if you gather my attention. Okay. So that's my take on that. And Senzwa, man, thank you for that, man.
Absolutely, and I want to emphasize that point of networking, right? Because
Go
this is
ahead.
literally the crux of what we do. Um, you want to, in order relationship building, right? I see networking more as relationship building. Like you need to. My mentor says this: you need to put deposits in people's emotional piggy banks,
Mm.
right, before you make any withdrawals, right? So it's like you ain't gonna withdraw none. Ain't no bread in the bank, right? But people need to know that he also says this: people don't care what you know until they know that you care, right?
Mm-hmm.
So really leaning into, okay, you go to a connect event, and we have our monthly mixer is called like-minded, right?
Okay.
So really focusing on building those like-minded connections. You go to like-minded, you meet somebody, etc. Da, 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 da. You follow up with them. You don't follow up with an ask, man. You follow up with a checking in, right? Really appreciate the conversation. Wanted to continue a conversation. Boom. This made me think of you.
Yeah.
Let me send you this article I just read. Boom. Let's talk about this article. Whatever. Boom.
Value add. What value are you adding? There we go.
Exactly. You continuously add the way the way I've built a network is because I've been generous, right?
Mhm.
I don't come from money. I don't come from political privilege. I don't come from none of that. But I'm naturally a generous person, and I can understand people's problems and pain points. So if you understand a problem and you generously continue to provide a solution, people bang with you.
Mhm.
People bang with you, then you can ask for something, right? But you can't ask for something if you don't have perceived value. So you have to continuously add that value in order for you to make any value withdrawal. Because if not, then it look like you're just begging, and people don't have time for that.
Yep.
Because the economy is rough right now, and everybody's hurting. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
unless you've built that relationship, and unless you've differentiated yourself as someone who continues to add value, you're not going to get what you want. So focus on that as a follow up for networking. If that's virtually, if that's coffee chat, if it's all that other stuff, make sure that you're doing that with a value add problem solving framework in mind.
Yep. Okay, listen. So we're about to wrap up soon here. Right now, I want to talk about some tools. I know we're talking about AI, man. I did build something called the Job Father AI. It's basically an agent I built on top of the Open AI platform. But
Dope.
what I did was, when I do my trainings with my clients, I train. You know how you have meeting note takers, right? So I took over 535 hours of transcripts from those meetings, coded it into my AI, put about 45 templates of how I teach, or how I need my resumes, my LinkedIn's to come out, how I do my interview prep. All of me, I programmed it into this agent. And man, the feat, like it is virtually me, the way it
Mm-hmm.
speaks, the way it guides. And it's just a great tool, right? It's thejobfather.org. If you want to visit the tool, go to thejobfather.org and visit the tab that says Job Father AI. Right, this is a game changer when it comes to job seeking. Right, and it's not just about the easy part is optimizing your LinkedIn and your resume, but this thing does interview prep where it directs you to go to the LinkedIn profile of the interviewer. Right, if you say interview prep, it'll ask you what round of interviews is it. Right, for the job, it asks you for the job description and then the LinkedIn profile of the person that's interviewing you. If you don't know how to do that, you go to the profile. You don't have to be a connection with that person. Matter of fact, just let me show you guys real quick for my followers who may not know. Entire screen. Let's do this one. 1 second as it pulls up here. We're just gonna do this. All right, so this is JobFather AI, right? So if when you get to somebody's profile, right, you don't have to be connected with them. Let's go to Senzwa profile. You go to the top, you find this more button, save the PDF. Boom, right? Okay. It's going to save. One thing I really like about it, let's talk about networking, right? So always, if you're going to start brand new, the JobFather does build out a resume, but it's already built mine. So I'm just going to, bear with me, go ahead and pull it up. Oh, 1 second. I don't know where it went. All right, so I'm going to tell it this is a resume you made already, right? Okay, so that's just for its knowledge. If you already built your chat, you won't have to do that every time. But since I'm starting fresh, I wanted to have my information. So I'm going to say I am reaching out to this person whom I haven't spoken with in years. I'd like to connect and ask him to join my live, right? Give me an email. And then what you can do is you'll take that profile that I just downloaded from Senzwa. Right. And what it does is it takes the information from Senzwa's profile, right? And then it gives you reasonable things to say. So this is just, and you don't have to have the JobFather AI to do this. You can do everything I just did in your own, but these are ways you can personalize, messages to people that you don't know. Download their PDF profile. If you have their Instagram, throw that in there as well. All right. If you ask it to give you interview prep, it'll ask you for all the things that I mentioned. It'll ask you for the round of interviews, the job description, and it'll also ask you for the PDF of that person. And what it'll spit out is answer to tell me about yourself, walk me through your resume. It'll give you smart questions to ask them. It'll give you sample behavioral questions with different formats of answers. It'll give you a gap analysis of what you may be missing. The most important thing is it gives you a psychological profile of the interviewer based on the LinkedIn profile. And I can tell you it's been about 95% accurate. Okay. And that's the most powerful thing. And then it also gives you a mock interview where it asks you question by question, and you can use the dictate button to give your answers, and it'll score your answer, revise your answer based upon your resume, and put the right pieces of information in there to align you as the best fit for that role. Okay, are you guys still with me?
This is hard.
All right, and this is only scraping the surface. Okay, let me stop sharing. Senzwa, go ahead if you have anything to add while we close up. I'm going to pull up another conversation, but it'll just be easier for me to do it without sharing the screen. But
no, go ahead. I mean, essentially, well, one, I think the GPT that you created is fantastic and very much needed. Again, we live in a world where you can take your entire knowledge base and make it an operational thing to help other people while you're not there, right?
Yeah.
And then the next step of that is you can take all of that and put in an avatar that actually speaks for you, that looks like you, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things that you can do right now to take your existing knowledge base, to take your existing expertise and thought leadership and make it more accessible to folks. So the fact that you learning the tools and you understand and you're making that accessible to your followers is dope. We can talk actually offline about how we can bring some of that, your level of expertise to connect to. I mean, I have an entire city of Black and brown professionals who are looking.
I would love to, man. I would love to share with your community.
Yeah.
I would love to share with you. I would even love just to share some of my services with you guys, man. I do pro bono work, so just anything to help the community. The This job father AI is going to take too long, but guys, go to my page. Any followers, go to my page. I have plenty of examples. Visit the site yourself and see what it's about. But the job father AI, listen, trust me. Yes, you can get to it on your own in your own chat GPT, but I'll guarantee you the number of prompts you will have to put in to get to this level of accuracy will take you about 3 or 4 days, right? And you just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So if you, what I tell job seekers to stay relevant in this age of AI, figure out whatever you do professionally, figure out what Chat GPT can do to make it easier for you, not replace you, but make it easier for you. What ways can you use AI to make the job better and make the role more efficient? Also, consider your industry. Some companies won't allow you to use Chat GPT because of privacy issues, right? But if you have a big enough organization that's willing to invest in the private servers and the developers to build their own, LLMs, this is how you stay ahead of the curve and make sure you let your hiring managers and interviewers know that you're innovative enough to stay ahead of the curve.
Said it. Listen. All right. If I ain't got nothing to add, I ain't got nothing to add. You said it yourself. You know what I'm saying?
All right, man. Well,
But
listen.
that was good.
Listen,
Absolutely.
man, Senzwa, I really enjoyed this conversation today. I greatly appreciate you joining. If you have any, final thoughts, any closing statements, if you want to share where people can find you, any and
Sure.
all of that, this is your opportunity.
Sure. Justin, again, appreciate you having me on the show. Super proud of everything that you built. Super happy for you. Happy to continue to pour into what you got going on as well. So we can talk about that and continue to talk about that offline. Um, I'd say this for myself. My whole role just in life is to be a conduit of collective progress for folks that look like me, right? I've a lot of experiences. I've a lot of um, I have a lot of experiences, which I tend to I'm interested in sharing.
Okay.
My whole goal is just to be a resource for folks. And we do so very comprehensively through the Connect. Again, we're a city ecosystem builder for Black and Brown professionals. So if you are in a city and you're like, yo, I think we need this, feel free to come holla at me. The Connect.pro is our website. You can there's a whole bunch of buttons on there where you can tap in. On Instagram, it's at Senzwa, Senzwa. We are the Connect PHL or the Connect DC. We also have the Connect AI, but I ain't posting nothing on there yet. LinkedIn, same thing. Senzwa, I have a very unique name, so it's not hard to find me. Like I'm this is my life's work, right? My life's work is to make sure that people are good. And any way that you all could help me continue to do so, I'm super blessed and I'm super grateful. So thank you again, Justin, for having me on here. And let's continue to push the mission forward, man.
All right, will do. Hey, everybody, thanks for taking the time to join in, whether you joined in live or watching it back via one of the multiple avenues we're streaming. Listen, as I always say, as the job father, if God is for you, who can be against you? When your back is against the wall, remember what God already brought you through, because your past and what he's already done is where the joy lies. The enemy can't steal your joy. Only you can. Keep your head up. Remember that you're the star. You belong in every room you walk in, and be great. You guys have a great evening. All right.